Coming up, a deadly shooting in Joplin overnight kills one man and sends another to the hospital.
Tuesday morning, and we're already popping severe thunderstorm warnings. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And Joplin's 150th anniversary might not take place next year, but the city is already making preparations.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go straight to Mike Laceland.
Tanya, we knew Tuesday morning was going to be all eyes down to the southwest, and that is exactly where we're starting to bubble up. As a matter of fact, we have our first severe thunderstorm warning of the day in Osage County. Is yet to move into Washington County. This thing not set to expire until 5:15. Not only the heavy rain on the far west side of it, but also to high winds and hail. No storm reports coming as of yet, but then as we move into portions of southwest Kansas, just north over the state line, more heavy rain headed its way towards Sedan. Everything is going to kind of move down to the southwest and the southeast. Give you an idea just geographically about where we're looking at that severe thunderstorm warning. We're not going to see a whole lot of north-south spread to it. It's more so going to drop down. So what we'll concentrate on is really right here along the state line and then eventually dropping on the other side of I-44. Live look over 7th and Range Line in Joplin, where it remains quiet right now, 61 degrees. Temperatures still rather comfortable throughout, and even where we do see the impending rain out to the west, still 59 in Independence and Sedan, 61 in Carthage and Joplin. So not a whole lot of difference when the rain does roll through. Mostly cloudy for everybody to start with until we get into the afternoon hours. We get some late sunshine there before it actually sets, and temperatures hovering around 81, 82 degrees. This is what we're talking about as far as not the whole north-south band, more so dropping down right here and trying to give up a little bit intensity-wise as we get into the later morning hours. Then when we get to the afternoon, we actually get a legitimate break until tonight, and we're going to revamp, this time up to the north. This is that one that's headed toward Kansas City, but we certainly do see our northern counties getting clipped with some heavy rain right there. That's got the threat of severe weather as well, and then it drops off from about, say, 10:30 tonight all the way to about 6 a.m. tomorrow morning before it is said and done. Temperatures still able to maintain the 60s for tomorrow morning. As we get to the 7-day forecast, still going to ride mid-80s, but keep those chances for showers spotty. Still looking at the cold front. That timing hasn't changed either from Friday night into Saturday, so nice mild weekend ahead. Just want to get through the severe thunderstorm warnings for this morning first.
All right, thanks, Michael. A lot to keep an eye on out there. Well, a shooting in Joplin leaves one man in the hospital and another one dead. Police say the shooting happened Monday night after 6 p.m. around the intersection of 5th and South Connor. Witnesses say numerous shots were fired. Authorities are not releasing any names or information about a possible suspect. Watch for updated information on this case on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Joplin police arrest a man for shooting a gun over the weekend. On Saturday, police say an intoxicated man tried to get an Uber, but the driver refused to give him a ride. Police say as the driver was pulling away, the man shot at the car. No one was hurt. Officers found an ID on the ground where the shooting happened and tracked the suspect to his home, where they arrested him. On Monday, the Joplin City Council approved a plan to add a property tax question to the August ballot. The property tax would be for a rate of $1 per $100 of assessed valuation. It would pay for wage and funding increases for the Joplin Police and Fire Departments, which were also agreed to last night. And at the same meeting, council members watched a presentation on what the Celebration Commission has been up to as Joplin's 150th anniversary nears. They're working on a promotion themed around the city flower, the iris. The commission is also trying to schedule some concerts, open art history and cultural exhibits, and get special mining camp uniforms for the Joplin High School baseball team. The 150th anniversary will be March 23rd of next year. Parents can expect the baby formula shortage to last a few more weeks. As the shortage continues, some area parents are searching for alternatives, some of which may not be safe. And social media posts have been circulating offering alternatives to formula such as goat's milk. Some posts have gone as far as offering recipes for making your own at-home formula. However, a local pediatrician says neither of those is a safe alternative.
Goat's milk is low in a lot of key essential vitamins like folate, B vitamins. It's also very high in sodium, and again, that can lead to electrolyte abnormalities, leading to hospitalization and seizures. It can lead to some very severe anemias, and so it is not safe to feed your babies goat milk.
The state of Missouri has compiled a list of formula alternatives, and we have a link in this story on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Now, coming up at 6, our very own Chris Warner tells us more about the pros and cons of alternatives to baby formula. Several Kansas airports look to get a boost in funds from the U.S. Department of Transportation. The department is handing out grants to airports for repairs and upgrades. 3 of the airports receiving grants are in southeast Kansas. Fort Scott Municipal Airport is receiving $2,070,000. In Iola, the Allen County Airport is getting $270,000, and $144,000 is going to the Chanute Martin Johnson Airport. Some local canine units take a dive into a whole different kind of rescue training. Quapaw Nation and other canine units are training for water and boat search and rescues at Twin Bridges Grand Lake State Park. Training brought in units from as far as North Carolina, Virginia, and Canada. Officials say water and boat search and rescue is a specialized training.
Well, in our area, I think waterways is the main recreation, especially in the 4 states. So we found this to be a vital training that we wanted to make happen. We have people from 6 different states right now training with us.
Training is open to the public and will run through Wednesday afternoon. And later in the show, our own Jalen Banks will bring us more on this story. Students across the country annually celebrate their academic achievements and accomplishments on May 17th, National Graduation Tassel Day. The day celebrates not only the successes, but the future of every graduate. Graduates, as your day arrives, square your shoulders, eyes steady on the future, pause to consider all your challenges in realizing this moment. When the principal or dean reads your name and your diploma is in hand, move your tassel. High school and undergraduate students start with their tassels on the right and move their tassels to the left upon graduation. For those earning graduate degrees and higher, the tassel starts on the left and moves to the right upon completion of their higher level degrees. These traditions of moving the tassel have only recently gained popularity in the last 50 years. There you go.
Now,
the reason behind right to left, left to right.
I did not know that that was the tradition. I'm sure at one point I did.
I knew you moved it, but I didn't know there was a difference in the direction between
either.
high school and college.
Yeah, and it's been a long time since I did anything like that, trust me.
Me too.
All right, Tanya, let's take a look at our severe thunderstorm warning that we have in effect right now for northeast Oklahoma. We'll go ahead and remove the radar just so we get a better shot of it geographically. Once again, this lasting until 5:15. It's going to be wind and hail combined with all that heavy rain. And now, just on the other side of the state line, we're seeing that approach Sedan as it will work its way through with torrential downpour as well. As the band that kind of cuts off there just to the north side of Sedan continues to move to the east, the majority of what we see up here around the Wichita area will actually proceed down to the southeast, so it's not going to be widespread today. Temperatures are in the high 50s, low 60s right now, but this is what we're going to eyeball here for the rest of the morning and watch this thing spread through northeast Oklahoma and then southern southwest Missouri.
All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories in weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, it's tournament time on the softball field, and we've got highlights from a 4 versus 5 seed matchup. Michael's got the details in sports. Plus, a gunman kills 10 people in a mass shooting in Buffalo, New York, and authorities say he was racially motivated. At the latest. And advances in medical technology give new hope for life to even the most premature of babies. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Tis indeed state tournament time. Joplin Eagles hosting the Class 6 District 6 baseball tournament this week. It begins with 4 quarterfinal games. Eagles hit the field against Republic, looking to earn a spot in the Final 4 in the district. Joplin, the 5 seed in the tournament. Republic, the 4 seed, and technically the home team. Ethan Guilford, good first inning on the mound for Joplin, gets a strikeout. That will keep us scoreless after 1, but Republic strikes first and does so in the 2nd inning. Gunnar Ellison drops one into center field, Bases loaded on that hit. Trace Harrington in, Tyler Burks right behind him, and the Tigers are up 2-0. Next inning, more from Republic. Trace Harrington, up, out, and away. 2-run shot for Harrington. Joplin finds themselves down 4-0. In the fifth, little defense. Runner on first for the Tigers. Chopper out to left. Justin McReynolds comes up gunning on the money. Nails the runner trying to go from first to third. But the offense never really got going, and the Eagle season comes to an end. Final score, 5-0.
It's hard right now, and it's easy to think back on, losing, your last game. And, the reality is that happens to everybody in the state except for one. So I think there's a lot more to this game than that. And I think that, we had some great times this year. We had some really big wins, a lot of fun at times, and told them let it hurt for a while, but, give yourself a couple days and think back to all those fun things that happened throughout the course of the year too.
Other playoff action in Southwest Missouri. Neosho and Webb City meeting in Neosho. Winner moves on to play for the district title on Wednesday. Pick it up in the bottom of the third. Eric Fitch, ground ball to short. Put the ball in play. Good things happen. Colton Eilenstein on second, put some pressure on. And Eilenstein's going to score as well. Webb City with the first run of the game. In the fourth inning, Kaylor Darnell. Little insurance for Webb City. Pops that one into left. Scores Kenley Hood. Gives the Cardinals a 2-0 lead. Gavin Stoll, he was outstanding on the mound for Webb City. And then Cooper Crouch, he comes in and slams the door. Strikes out the side in the seventh inning. Webb City wins 2-0, advancing to the district championship. In the other semifinal matchup, Carl Junction trying to knock off the top seed in the district, and that's exactly what CJ did as they top McDonald County in a thriller. Final score 5-4. It will be CJ and Webb City will play that district title Wednesday night. In Southeast Kansas, Baxter Springs Lions hosting 3A regional softball this week. Lions are the 4 seed in the tournament. Hit the field against 5th-seeded Caney Valley in the first round, with the winner going to the regional semifinals this afternoon. Haley Painter did her thing in the circle. Parrots strikeouts at the top of the first, then bottom of the first. Here comes the Baxter offense, catching a little fire. Lily Weston all the way to the wall in right field. That scores Reagan Pitts for the first run of the game. Then second and third for Emily Williams. Drills it past the shortstop. That scores 2 more, and Baxter's now up 4-0 as Williams safely into second. Chrissy Bailey's turn. Oppo. That brings home Addison Kiff, and all of a sudden it is 5-0. They scored 12 runs in the first inning. Kiff with a line drive to right as 2 more runs scored. Baxter Springs finished it off early and advanced with a 15-0 win in 3 innings. Baxter Springs getting the winner of top-seeded Columbus against 8th-seeded Galena. It was a great one. Tight until the end. Titans managed to find a way to win this thing 3-2. Columbus faces Baxter in the regional semifinals. That will be this afternoon. First pitch scheduled for 2 o'clock. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, a shakeup in the French cabinet leads to the country's first female prime minister in 3 decades. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Just past 5:17, still good time to roll some weather on the 7s, and we had some great news come in from the National Weather Service while we were doing our sports block right there. An indicator that the winds and the hail threat down in Osage County in northeast Oklahoma is beginning to die down. So that, once again, that severe thunderstorm warning that we started our show with, that has now expired. Now, that does not get anybody out of the way of the heavy rain that's now spread north across the state line into southeast Kansas, dominating Sedan and then getting ready to move its way into Montgomery County and Washington counties in Kansas and Oklahoma respectively here in, say about the next 15 to 20 minutes. And so this is the activity that we'll keep our eyes on, make sure this thing doesn't reappear, try to re-intensify and drop some hail and high winds as it rolls through. Not going to be surprised if that's the last severe thunderstorm warning of the morning. Now, as we work as far as the north-south direction of it, this right here is going to stall out. We're not going to get very much above where we are as far as our northerly push. Everything's going to try to drop down toward I-44 throughout the course of the morning. And hopefully, as it does, if that one in Osage County is in the indicator, hopefully it does lose some intensity there as it drops down to the south. 61 degrees over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. Haven't seen much temperature movement yet. 64 in Miami, 62 in Chanute, and let's roll 59 in Nevada. So very similar to what we had yesterday. We're going to start with mostly cloudy skies for everybody that's not involved in the rain. And then slowly but surely, we'll get a little sunshine, kind of temper it off. We'll go high 70s, low 80s for today. But more importantly is that precipitation. So here we go. I'm still hanging on throughout the later morning hours, dipping below I-44 and not clearing off until the afternoon hours. Then as we get into tonight, we've got additional heavy rain for our north and easterly parts of not only southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri, but as this thing rolls through, it wants to drop down to the southeast as well. Say we get started about, we really need to be on our toes about 9:30, about 10 o'clock is when we see it begin to move in. By 10:30, we're pretty entrenched in it, dropping off, but not doing so and getting out of here until about 6 a.m. on Wednesday. And another thing that has done for us, there's a 7-day forecast, but I want to show the severe thunderstorm risk map for today as well, because we do show up in it, and it will be those northerly counties. Give you kind of a general overview, and then we'll zoom in here. But anyway, here's the severe thunderstorm risk map for us today, and you can tell right there where we saw that heavy rain, that's in that low category. Then as you move up, even Kansas City is a part of that. St. Joe, Omaha, they find themselves in that elevated category, and yeah, that's that same system that we'll have for tonight into tomorrow morning. Time now to go to our KOAM News Now Facebook page, our morning Insta poll. We call it our Something to Talk About. Investigators are combing through evidence linked to the man accused of shooting and killing 10 people at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York. As prosecutors work on bringing federal charges against the suspect, Mike Valerio has the latest. He's in Buffalo.
Well, good evening. Police are confirming tonight the suspect wasn't just here in March, he was also here on Friday. That is the day before the attack, and he was here, police say, to perform recon for the rampage. Newly obtained video of accused Buffalo grocery store gunman Peyton Gendron as he's taken into custody at the Tops Friendly Market store on Saturday. Authorities say he had his sights set on taking even more lives than he did.
So there was evidence that was uncovered that he had plans, had he gotten out of here, to continue his rampage and continue shooting people. He'd even spoken about possibly going to another store. He was going to get in his car and continue to drive down Jefferson Avenue and continue doing the same thing.
Unsettling new images of the alleged shooter's rifles show writing on the weapons, including the phrase, quote, "White Lives Matter," and what appears to be the name of a victim of a crime committed by a black suspect. There were also details on his obsession with mass killings.
If this gentleman came here to hopefully to divide our community, he did the complete opposite. We are united like we've never been before.
As investigators dig into Gendron's history, they're learning he visited the Buffalo area recently.
We found some things that show that he was here in early March. And then again, we know that he was here on Friday, basically doing a reconnaissance on the area.
Dark details uncovered reveal Gendron was visited last year by New York State Police after he turned in a high school project about murder-suicides.
He stated a facility. I'm not sure if it was a hospital or a mental health facility for a day and a half. But, you know, where were the red flags for him to be able to purchase these guns legally?
Our question this morning is white nationalism a national threat? You can connect to us going directly to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now. Be back with Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention wants people traveling on domestic flights to get tested for COVID-19. CDC has updated travel guidance for the pandemic. The agency is now urging all domestic travelers to consider taking a COVID test before their trip. Previous recommendations suggested tests only for those who did not have up-to-date COVID vaccinations. According to the new guidance, the agency recommends getting tested no more than 3 days before your trip, but they really want the test to happen as close to the time of departure as possible. CDC also recommends taking a COVID-19 test after any domestic travel that included a greater risk of being exposed to COVID, like hanging out in crowded places. Well, young children may soon be able to get COVID-19 booster shots. The FDA is expected to authorize Pfizer boosters for children ages 5 to 11. An official familiar with the plan says the authorization could come as early as today. Pfizer requested emergency use authorization for its boosters at the end of April. The company claims its data showed a third vaccine dose raised Omicron fighting antibodies by 36 times in those ages 5 to 11. An advisory committee for the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is also expected to discuss COVID-19 vaccine boosters when they will meet on Thursday. The world of medicine has come a long way over the last century, and now more doctors armed with the latest technology and birthing science are seeing it's possible to try and save extremely premature babies, where before most professionals thought it was not possible for them to survive. Kevin Cork has the latest data, plus a special look at the world's earliest surviving premature infant.
Medical advances are giving doctors higher success rates for saving extremely premature babies. Babies like little Curtis Means from Alabama.
He's determined to do what he want to do, so I'm right behind him.
Michelle Butler gave birth to Curtis and his twin sister when she was only in the 5th month of pregnancy, roughly 7 weeks before doctors say babies could have a chance at surviving outside the womb.
It was pretty much a 0% chance.
While Curtis's sister tragically didn't make it, Curtis pulled through, and the likelihood of other babies like him surviving is actually expanding as improved technology is changing perspectives, giving doctors more confidence these early births could be saved. According to a recent study in the Journal of the American Medical Association, out of roughly 11,000 premature babies, just 30% born at 22 weeks lived long enough to be sent home from the hospital if doctors tried to save them. Now that number rose to 56% for those born at 23 weeks, and then skyrocketed to 71% for those born at 24 weeks.
They show you their heart rate is going to be steady and they're doing good by the monitor. That changes everything.
Surviving is only half the battle, though. Doctors say extremely premature babies are actually prone to neurological issues and can have difficulty breathing on their own and, unfortunately, can also develop problems with their eyesight.
That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, a deadly shooting in Joplin overnight kills one man and sends another to the hospital.
We've already got some thunderstorms beginning to work in. We're going to track these as they make their way to the east with the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And Joplin's 150th anniversary might not take place until next year, but the city is already making preparations.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 5:32. I'm Tanya Bach. We've got rains on the way. Let's go straight to Michael Hayslip to take a look.
Dominating the western portion of our highlighted counties, Tanya. Look at the amount of lightning that we have stretching from southeast Kansas over the state line. To combine that with the heavy rain, we have let our severe thunderstorm warning expire. So that is some great news. As this thing passes from Sedan, just about to make its way into Montgomery County, we now see the leading edge of it on the east side, making its way into Washington County in northeast Oklahoma. Everything that's up to the north of it be already beginning to either break up or stall out right here. We're going to really concentrate on about from, say, yay to yay as this thing drops down to the southeast, almost heads toward I-44, rolls over on itself. But hopefully we can see this eastern edge begin to collapse. That's the ultimate goal right here. And an indicator that we were able to lift that severe thunderstorm warning at 5:15, not advance it to the east. That's an excellent sign right there. No storm reports coming out of any hail yet. That's something we're keeping our eyes on, though. 61 degrees over 7th and Rangeline right now. High 50s, low 60s abound. We see some mid 60s there as Miami checks in at 64. And it's going to take a while to get some sunshine. We're going to start with mostly cloudy skies here, and of course the rain down to the south. But even for those of you up in the north and the east, it's going to take a little bit before the sun fully takes effect. And then we'll go high 70s, low 80s. So as this drops down, it'll give us a little afternoon break here. But I want everybody on your toes up to the north and to the east, because as we get into Tuesday night, we see this one form out of Kansas City. Really wants to push out of Omaha, then through Kansas City, and then we get the far southern edge of it down here for late tonight. That's going to be thunder, lightning, and look at all the red and orange that we see right there. Very heavy rain, and really trying to hang on until about 6 a.m. until it pushes off into central Missouri. After that, a 7-day forecast with temperatures that really don't want to budge out of the mid-80s. Keep the chances for rain a little bit slighter there on Thursday. Still looking at that cold front dropping in on us on Friday. Big change there headed into what's going to be a mild weekend, maybe even feel a little bit chilly at times if we're all going to top out in the 60s.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. I get a chance of rain every day.
Good, like I said, we'll call it good news down to the south, and the fact that it's, you know, doesn't help anybody trying to get out to the car right now, but at least we were able to lift the severe thunderstorm warning.
There you go. All right, thanks, Michael. A shooting in Joplin leaves one man in the hospital and another one dead. Police say the shooting happened Monday night just after 6 p.m. around the intersection of 5th and South Connor. Witnesses say numerous shots were fired. Authorities are not releasing any names or information about a possible suspect. You can watch for updated information on this case on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. On Monday, the Joplin City Council approved a plan to add a property tax question to the August ballot. The property tax would be for a rate of $1 per $100 of assessed valuation. It would pay for wage and funding increases for the Joplin Police and Fire Departments, which were also agreed to. At the same meeting, council members watched a presentation on what the Celebration Commission has been up to as Joplin's 150th anniversary nears. They're working on a promotion themed around the city flower, the iris. The commission is also trying to schedule some concerts, open art history and cultural exhibits, and get special mining camp uniforms for the Joplin High School baseball team. The 150th anniversary will be March 23rd of next year. Some area K-9 units are getting training on different kinds of rescue scenarios. Quapaw Nation Emergency Management is one of several departments going through water search and rescue training for the next 3 days. KOAM's Jalen Banks has the story.
The Quapaw Nation Emergency Management Team is hosting a K-9 water and boat search and rescue training this week.
So we progress from very basics. It's the idea of crawl, walk, run. So we progress from very basic exercises on the land, and then we move that target odor that the dogs are trained to respond to into the water, and then we also work on body language of the dogs working off the docks.
The training will benefit more than just those in the Quapaw Nation. The training had participants not only from the Quapaw Nation, but from the rest of the 4 states, North Carolina, Virginia, and from as far as Calgary, Canada. The group is being led by Sally Dickinson, who is getting her PhD in applied animal behavior from Virginia Tech University. She has a specialty in behavior modification and is over 20 years working with K-9 in search and rescue. And she says this type of search and rescue is different.
It's highly specialized. The dogs that work this kind of work need a lot of training, not just for the dog, but for the handler themselves. This is really kind of an expertise level of search and rescue.
With outdoor and water activities ramping up with summer on the horizon, Hugh Murray of the Quapaw Nation Emergency Management Team thought that doing the training was important.
In our area, I think waterways is the main recreation, especially in the 4 states. So we found this to be a vital training that we wanted to make happen. This is very unique. This is very different. So you wouldn't think it, but once you start realizing how much the dog's nose knows, you can do stuff like this.
At the Twin Bridges Grand Lake State Park in Wyandotte, Oklahoma, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
Well, the general public is permitted to view the training. What a great opportunity for our local K-9 units, too.
Let's work backwards here. Let's start with the 7th day and talk about the fact that this afternoon it'll be 82, because then we're going to tackle 2 bouts of rain. One that we're entrenched in right now for the western and southern portions of the 4 states. Very heavy rains going to impact portions of Washington, Nowata, and Montgomery counties here really for the next half hour. And then as that rolls through, we get a little afternoon break, but then watch this reemerge for tonight. Comes out of Omaha, sweeps through Kansas City, and is on us late tonight all the way through Wednesday morning before it pushes out. So while we monitor our current one going on down to the south, the one up to the north results in a severe thunderstorm risk for the areas in yellow that are indicators of wind and hail. And to give you an idea, we even see that elevated portion turn up. Starts at about KC, works its way north to Omaha.
Well, this morning we're discussing the Buffalo shooting. On Saturday, May 14th, a gunman shot 14 people in a supermarket in Buffalo, New York. 10 people were killed. 11 of the victims were black. Authorities say the shooter in this mass shooting was motivated by racial hatred, as was the case of recent mass shootings in El Paso, Texas, and Charleston, South Carolina. According to online posts, the Buffalo shooter described himself as a white supremacist, a fascist, and an anti-Semite. In the same post, the shooter went on to say the reason for targeting the Buffalo market was its proximity and high number of black people.
Our question for you this morning is white nationalism a national threat? Pretty close right now. 53% say yes, 47% saying no. Each and every morning, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote takes you directly to the poll. You can also connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now.
All right. Thank you, Michael. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, voices of condemnation against the Israeli police.
Calls for justice in Jerusalem and around the world. I'm Ian Lee with the outrage over the death of a Palestinian-American journalist.
Plus, we'll meet a man who's drawing his inspiration for art from destruction. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, outrage is growing over the attack on the funeral procession of a Palestinian-American journalist. Church leaders are condemning Israeli police for using too much force. Ian Lee reports from Jerusalem.
Death, Shireen Abu Akleh couldn't find peace. Last Friday, Israeli police attacked the pallbearers carrying her coffin, beating them with clubs. Authorities say they were provoked, but Jerusalem's top Catholic leader isn't buying it.
Israel's police invasion and disproportionate use of force is a severe violation of international norms and regulations.
The attack shocked Shireen's already grieving family.
One of the Israeli forces told me, if you do not get away from here, I will beat you.
Lena had worried about her aunt's safety as a reporter, but says Shireen tried to reassure her.
We're protected by our vest, and they can see it says capital letters press.
The Al Jazeera journalist was wearing that vest when eyewitnesses say an Israeli soldier shot the Palestinian American last Wednesday. Her funeral saw one of the largest turnouts in Jerusalem in years. Shireen was already an icon, a role model for many women and girls across the Arab world. Her legacy will now live forever.
At least Shireen, the whole world is seeing her story now.
Israel says it's investigating her killing, but is not claiming responsibility.
It's important to have accountability to show that Israel cannot get away with another crime.
Do you think you'll get accountability?
We really hope so.
As a journalist, Shireen fought to tell the truth. Now her family is fighting to know what truly happened to her. Ian Lee, CBS News, Jerusalem.
In a rare and unanimous statement, the UN Security Council condemned Shireen's killing. The State Department and many U.S. lawmakers are calling for a thorough and objective investigation. France named its first female prime minister in 30 years. This announcement follows French Prime Minister Jean Castex's resignation on Monday. The former mayor of his small hometown of Prades, Castex was a little-known figure when he became prime minister in July of 2020. He went on to lead France's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Castex's long-anticipated resignation makes way for the first new French government since the re-election of President Emmanuel Macron. Castex is 61 years old. France appointed Elizabeth Borne to replace him as prime minister of the country. Borne, a former minister of the Environment, Transportation and Labor, is the first woman in 3 decades to hold the position and only the second woman ever to become prime minister under France's current constitution. North Korea is ramping up efforts to fight hundreds of thousands of what it calls fewer cases after reporting its first outbreak of COVID-19. Kim Jong-un has ordered the military to help stabilize the country's medicine supply. State media says he strongly criticized the cabinet and public health sector for its handling of the crisis during an emergency meeting on Sunday. The Biden administration is making it easier for families to visit relatives in Cuba. The State Department says it is reinstating the Cuban Family Reunification Parole Program and increasing visa processing. It's also lifting the family remittance cap of $1,000 per quarter. That means more money can be donated to support Cuban entrepreneurs and expand their businesses. Biden pledged in 2020 to reverse the Trump-era Cuban policies. Let's look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. One man is dead and another is in the hospital after a shooting in Joplin. Police say the shooting happened Monday night, just after 6 p.m. around the intersection of 5th and South Connor. Witnesses say numerous shots were fired. Authorities are not releasing any name or information about a possible suspect. Watch for updated information on this case on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. On Monday, the Joplin City Council approved a plan to add a property tax question to the August ballot. Property tax would be for a rate of $1 per $100 of assessed valuation. Would pay for wage and funding increases for the Joplin Police and Fire Departments, which were also agreed to last night. And a newly released grand jury report is highly critical of Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt and the state's Pardon and Parole Board. The report says the parole board was so focused on releasing inmates that it cut corners and ignored internal processes, which ultimately led to the release of an inmate later charged with killing 3 people. The panel also criticized Governor Kevin Stitt for how he appointed board members. Spokesman for Stitt called the grand jury process a sham. And construction work begins at Pittsburgh Community Middle School. The work is part of the bond project passed by voters in January. School officials hosted an event to celebrate the construction kickoff. Under the project, all 4 floors of the middle school will be remodeled, and that includes adding a modern science lab, adding an ADA-compliant elevator, and renovating the school's auditorium. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Lightning coming down to the southwest a little bit. That strikes in the last 15 minutes. And there we go. As soon as I say that, of course, it wants to pop up, deliver us about 3-4 more strikes right along the state line. Thank you, Mother Nature. The rain is not giving up. We're already approaching an inch of accumulation. And we've got a little bit of backfill here moving its way through Sedan and then about to make its way through Bartlesville as well. This is the one that's moving east-southeast, so it's slowly going to fall toward I-44 and be with us really until, say about 10:30 this morning. As we move up to the north right here, everything's kind of stagnant out by Wichita, so almost Fredonia, it looking like the cutoff line right there, probably right along Highway 400, if you will. Not going to see much north movement. However, everything up there, once again, is going to continue to fall down to the southeast. We have been able to lift our severe thunderstorm warning, so that is at least a good thing. Mostly cloudy skies for everybody, even if it's not raining in your area. Temperatures right now, high 50s, low 60s, and eventually making it up into the low 80s. But remember, this is merely round 1. So as we eyeball this one during the course of the morning show, we're going to get ready and revamp for tonight because there's a large system working its way through the upper plains that moves in out of Omaha, sweeps through Kansas City, and then is upon us with very heavy rain for tonight into Wednesday morning. So let's all keep on our toes here for round 1 now and round 2 tonight. We'll be back with more KOAM morning news right after this.
A man in Minneapolis is turning destruction into art right in his front yard. He's making use of a storm-damaged tree, turning it into what he calls a living sculpture. Mary Almos reports.
A huge storm came, a flash about 10 a.m. on a Saturday, dark sky, high winds.
In 2017, that storm took out this giant bur oak tree in John Higgins' front yard, its huge branches crashing down, left with just this.
We lost a friend.
So he decided to give new life to this dead tree trunk.
We thought, let's do something basic, simple, that we could execute, but something that's classic.
Soon in this lakeside front yard will stand a 16-foot classic No. 2 pencil. It'll look just like this. Not exactly to scale, but other than that, every detail down to the branding will be on this giant pencil.
This is the Empire Pencil Corporation. It's one of the very first pencils that was brought to America.
The sculpture already has a name, the Lodi pencil. Lodi standing for Lake of the Isles, where you can find the tree on the east side of the lake. The sculptor, Curtis Ingolstad, is whittling away at it, hoping to make it a neighborhood spectacle in about 3 weeks. But the final sculpture will not be permanent.
It's an event in sculpting it, but it's also a pencil, and a pencil needs to be sharpened.
The inaugural sharpening of this pencil will be Saturday, June 4th, and they hope to make a tradition out of it, sharpening a foot down each year.
It'll be a living sculpture in that sense.
Higgins hopes that with each annual sharpening, the community will write their own memories with this pencil.
When you sharpen it, it's a promise to write a formula, to write a love letter, to write a story.
Can't wait to see the finished product there. Of course, there's a lot of really cool sculptures similar to that, possibly more impressive here in the 4 states as well. Well, that first sharpening is set to be a big event, complete with a band and an ice cream truck. We're going to be back with another look at your forecast right after this.
This live look outside of Television City, a far cry from what we're seeing down to the west and the south, where we're monitoring heavy rain activity. We have been able to allow our previous severe thunderstorm warning to expire, so that's some good news, but there's no dodging the torrential rainfall that's coming down as we approach an inch of accumulation here in just the last several hours alone. Moving now through portions of Newata and Independence, and then it will keep on pushing off to the east with a little southerly drop in it as well. So that's going to include Veneta, Miami, eventually Joplin, Neosho, Pineville. As we move up to the north, we see little spotty pieces in and around the Fredonia area. That'll move towards Chanute. Really everything good, trying to stay to the south of Highway 400 right there. So this is what we're monitoring this morning, and coming up here in just a little bit, we need to talk about round 2 that is on us just in time for tonight.
Coming up, a deadly overnight shooting in Joplin leaves 1 dead and another in the hospital.
Thunderstorms wasting no time, arriving in from the west, moving down to the south. We will bring you the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And Joplin starts to plan its 150th anniversary 1 year in advance.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go straight to Michael Hayslip.
Updating any thunderstorm warnings that we had. Actually, just monitoring what's coming out of the Tulsa National Weather Service, where at least our biggest threat for the high wind and the hail is coming to an end. But I tell you what, that doesn't mean you can stay out of the way of the rain. That is for sure. Torrential downpour coming down right now on that line that runs from Newata up to Independence, just passing through Bartlesville. Sedan still stuck in the middle of it as well. We did let our lone severe thunderstorm warning expire about 5:15, but now we're watching the easterly push as it really just wants to ride right along the state line right there. We're not going to see much north-south movement, kind of cut off right there about Highway 400. I can see Chanute getting clipped by the far northern edge of this, but eventually it's going to sink down to the southeast right there, which Grove, Miami, Joplin, Neosho. That's even as it breaks up right there, still going to want the umbrella as you take off. Kind of an eerie sky over 7th and Rangeline. That's not color corrected or anything. That's exactly what we have out there, with sunrise just about 7 minutes away in the heavy cloud cover, with a lot of moisture up in there as well, giving it almost a orange and purplish hue. 63 degrees. It has remained relatively comfortable. Low 60s. We see some high 50s thrown in. Miami's been our warm point all morning long, chiming in at 64. Eventually make it up into the high 70s, low 80s. Even if it's not raining in your neck of the woods, it is going to be overcast to begin with before we clear that out. More importantly, let's concentrate on our rain, because as it sweeps down, comes down to the southeast, really wants to hang on until, say about 11, maybe even the noon hour before it kicks completely out. Then we get our afternoon break, pick up some late afternoon sunshine, but here's round 2. This thing formulates over Omaha, drops through Kansas City, right down into the middle of the 4 states for late tonight into all the way through early tomorrow morning. We're not only talking about the threat of heavy rain, but also wind and hail with that. It doesn't kick out till about 6 a.m. We do find ourselves in the low category on the severe thunderstorm risk map. That's an indicator of high wind, also hail. We even see that elevated portion up through Omaha all the way down to Kansas City. So there we go. And even if you slip below this yellow line right here, please know rain's going to remain pretty good. After that, temperatures mid-80s. Keep chances for rain sporadic throughout the week. Cold front, still anticipating it for Friday night into Saturday.
Yep, got those chances of rain just about every day, it looks like.
Old Mother Nature gonna keep us on toes this week.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, Joplin police arrest a man for a gunshot over the weekend. On Saturday, police say an intoxicated man tried to get an Uber, but the driver refused to give him a ride. Police say as the driver was pulling away, the man shot at the car. No one was hurt. Officers found an ID on the ground where the shooting happened and tracked the suspect to his home, where they arrested him. One man is dead and another is in the hospital after a shooting in Joplin. Police say the shooting happened Monday night just after 6 p.m. around the intersection of 5th and South Connor. Witnesses say numerous shots were fired. Authorities are not releasing any names or information about a possible suspect. You can watch for updated information on this case on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. On Monday, the Joplin City Council approved a plan to add a property tax question to the August ballot. Property tax would be for a rate of $1 per $100 of assessed valuation. It would pay for wage and funding increases for the Joplin Police and Fire Departments, which were also agreed to last night. And also at the meeting, council members watched a presentation on what the Celebration Commission has been up to leading up to the city's 150th anniversary. They're working on a promotion themed around the city flower, the iris. Commission's also trying to schedule some concerts, open art, history, and cultural exhibits, and get special mining camp uniforms for the Joplin High School baseball team. 150th anniversary will be March 23rd of next year. It still takes weeks for formula to hit the shelves. As the shortage continues, some area parents are searching for alternatives, some of which may not be safe. Social media posts have been circulating offering alternatives to formula, such as goat's milk, and some posts have gone as far as offering recipes for making your own at-home formula. However, a local pediatrician says neither of those is a safe alternative.
Goat's milk is low in a lot of key essential vitamins like folate, B vitamins. It's also very high in sodium, and again, that can lead to electrolyte abnormalities, leading to hospitalization and seizures. It can lead to some very severe anemias, and so it is not safe to feed your babies goat milk.
The state of Missouri has compiled a list of formula alternatives, and we'll have a link in this story at our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Some local K-9 units are getting training on different kinds of rescue scenarios. The Quapaw Nation and other K-9 units are training for water and boat search and rescues at Twin Bridges Grand Lake State Park. The training brought in units from as far as North Carolina, Virginia, and Canada. Officials say water and boat search and rescue is a specialized training.
Well, in our area, I think waterways is the main recreation, especially in the 4 states. So we found this to be a vital training that we wanted to make happen. We have people from 6 different states right now training with us.
The training is open to the public and will run until Wednesday afternoon. Construction work begins at the Pittsburgh Community Middle School. The work is part of the bond project passed by voters in January. School officials hosted an event yesterday to celebrate the construction kickoff. Under the project, all 4 floors of the middle school will be remodeled, and that includes adding a modern science lab, adding an ADA-compliant elevator, and renovating the school's auditorium.
Pretty bad. There's like not enough space, and like the elevator would be really nice for like the extra like education, and like the theater, we're always having to like go to Memorial Auditorium because we can't use it.
Bond was approved to cover $16.5 million in cost. It continues the previous mill levies through the year 2045. Today, back in 1954, Brown versus Board of Education is decided. In a major civil rights victory, the U.S. Supreme Court hands down a unanimous decision in Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka, ruling that racial segregation in public educational facilities is unconstitutional. The historic decision, which brought an end to federal tolerance of racial segregation, specifically dealt with Linda Brown, a young African-American girl who had been denied admission to her local elementary school in Topeka, Kansas, because of the color of her skin.
Linda Brown will go on in a career in education.
There you go.
Yeah, I think she went to Washburn and K-State during her college years as well. All right, Tanya, we are firmly entrenched right now for Washington and Nowata counties, and now we're moving into Craig, Rogers, Mays, and is it going to be hitting it hard here till probably about the next 20 minutes. Give you an idea of the heavy torrential rainfall coming down. And 10 minutes ago, I said our lightning was trying to give up a little bit. Well, it's right back on it. And also, too, getting some reports of 35 to 40 mile an hour winds associated with this as it continues to move off to the east and also sag down to the south. So as you look at the right-hand side of your screen, that is where it is headed through the course of our morning.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we sit down with Aaron Slifka from the Joplin Chamber of Commerce to talk about a grant small business owners in Joplin do not want to miss. Plus, a man plans to bike through all 50 states to donate blood. We'll have his story. And children who live in poor and underserved areas are more likely to end up in pediatric ICUs. We'll explain. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, a special welcome home on Monday for an Illinois teacher. Students and staff at Grigsby Education Center in Granite City welcomed Master Sergeant Robert Bragg home from a recent deployment overseas. Now, Bragg, who serves in the Air Force Reserves, is also a 6th grade teacher. He's been in Kuwait and other Middle Eastern countries for the past month to help with training, testing, and teaching. Bragg says while it was a great experience, it was even better being able to bring back life lessons for his students. He's also happy to be back with his wife and 2 children who are 1 and 3 years old. Sure, they were happy to see him. Well, police in Chicago are investigating the deaths of 2 people found in a hotel. The Alderton Hotel is located in a popular shopping district of Chicago. Authorities say a woman was found first with a gunshot wound, and then a man was found about 30 minutes later. No arrests have been made. A man from New York is giving blood to the entire nation. Well, sort of. Bob Burns is on a bicycle tour across the country and intends to donate blood or platelets in all 50 states. His year-long mission took him to Madison, Wisconsin on Monday. It's the 41st capital city he's been to on his tour, which is called the Great American Triple Switchback Tour. The purpose is to raise awareness about the importance of blood and platelet donation. Burns says he's biked more than 12,000 miles so far. That leaves him with about 3,500 more to go. For his final donation, he will fly to Hawaii. Well, Starbucks announced a new benefit for employees and employee dependents. The coffee chain says its healthcare plan will reimburse travel for its workers getting abortions or gender surgeries. Details of the new benefit are still being worked out, but Starbucks said it would be for circumstances when abortions or gender surgeries are not available within 100 miles of an employee's home. Dependents who use Starbucks medical plan are also eligible for the benefit. Company officials said they want to ensure that employees have access to quality health care regardless of what the Supreme Court decides. Women in more than 24 states face an abortion ban if the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade. That's the landmark 1973 decision that legalized abortions nationwide. That's a look at today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. We are privileged enough to have Aaron Slifka from the Joplin Chamber of Commerce in with us this morning. Aaron, so good to see you in person.
Nice to see you, I know.
Aaron, obviously no stranger to the show, but she brings us a very unique opportunity that's put together by 2 groups called Heartland Forward and Builders and Backers, along with other sponsors for this. Now, Aaron, how many people do you think have sat around at some point in their life and been like, I have an idea for an invention, something that could improve my community, but I don't know where to start?
I think quite often they say, I want to say it's about every 3 to 8 people have an idea, but they don't have access to capital to get that idea launched. That's the huge barrier. So we have an exciting opportunity for those who have an idea. We have an Idea Accelerator grant program that is available to anyone living in the Joplin area, the tri-state area, to apply for this grant, and it's open till May 30th.
And it's amazing that when I went through the list of people and organizations that are a part of it, so many of them are construction driven, which makes perfect sense, but also too, you were telling me about some of the ideas that people had put together in previous cities where this has been going on, and they're not necessarily construction related.
No, they're not. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Oxford, Mississippi were 2 test markets last year that Builders and Backers and Heartland Forward used. There was one woman who did an app and bringing it to centralizing your shopping bags. So for those who do online shopping, you have your shopping bag at Amazon, maybe Old Navy, Bed Bath & Beyond, but this would bring all those shopping bags together, so you only have to make one transaction through this app. Another gentleman partnered with local law enforcement to do some different drone footage to allow them to access to different data points. And there was another one I read about, I believe out of the Oklahoma area, where this individual created an app to work with private property owners for hunting and getting access so they can lease out land. So, and that's, if you go on our Facebook page, we do have a link to a YouTube video where it talks about some of these ideas.
I think the key factor of this is when we talk about when we talk about Heartland Forward and the builders and backers. So much of it, I don't want people to be dissuaded by the fact that they think it is construction driven, because it's truly not. And another thing that Erin really wants to emphasize is that she's representing the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce, but folks, this is open to you anywhere.
Anywhere. So some of our partners, the MoCan Regional Economic Partnership, we have Mid-Missouri Bank, Commerce Bank, Arvis Bank here in Joplin, Anderson Engineering, Mercy Hospital, but these ideas that we're wanting to funnel in are things that our region needs, where maybe we're lacking something that could connect major industry to help break down those barriers.
How was the Chamber of Commerce, like you said, it was a pilot program that we saw in Tulsa and Oxford. They had great success with it, so now they expand. How was the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce able to convince them to come help the 4 states?
So we definitely leveraged our partnership with the local businesses who are also investing in this program, but builders and backers in Heartland Forward definitely saw an opportunity here in this region with how quickly we're growing and how we are really building up this entrepreneurial ecosystem here in the region. So if you're in that 7-county area, the Ottawa, Barton, Jasper, I can name them all, the Kansas side, Cherokee and Crawford, please, if you have an idea, apply for this program, because all you need is an idea. You do not need a business plan. That will be part of that 90-day program.
They're going to usher me.
Yes. Yes.
So, okay, so I've got this great idea. Where do I start? Where do I apply?
Go to buildersbackers.com. On that homepage, there will be a spot where you can apply. We have 10 spots reserved for Joplin area individuals. Again, you have a 90-day program. That first 45 days, they will help you work on that idea to build it out, to attract capital, and then the next 45 days you go and test it out and market.
And so there it is, folks. You no longer have a reason to wake up and say, I have this grandiose idea for an invention, but I don't know where to start, because Erin and the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce are helping us pull this off. What are some of the feedback that you've received from the businesses and the sponsors that have been a part of this? Do they see the long end goal here?
Yes, definitely. I would say in the last few years, about 80% in our communities that are growing employment are startup businesses. So we definitely
80%?
Yes, yes. And so coming out of COVID, we have this opportunity to really take care of our startup community and our local businesses and watch that grow, because these are the people living in our community, contributing to the livability and the quality of life to this area. And we want to make sure these ideas stay here and they grow here, so we can take care of everyone that lives here.
That percentage right there, you just blew my mind with that statistic.
I know, I had to read it a few times.
That's amazing. So Erin, tell us one more time how we apply for this, and just kind of the timeline about the time investment. And hey, if this is going to be successful, you got to know that you're going to have to put some time into it as well. So deadline and where we apply.
May 30th is the deadline for the application. Buildersandbackers.com. On the homepage, there's an application, and this is a 90-day program. First 45 days, you're going to be learning about how to get that idea on paper, and then the next 45 days, you'll be testing that idea in market.
And if you want to go back and review anything that Erin said, of course, you can find this interview on KOAMnewsnow.com, and do not hesitate to go to the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce website. And Erin does a marvelous job with our Facebook page. I know how much time you put into that. Erin Slifka of the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce, thanks you for bringing us this amazing opportunity. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful to see you in person.
Yes, it is nice to see you too.
We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, children from poor and underserved communities are at higher risk of being admitted to pediatric intensive care units and dying there. Research presented at the American Thoracic Society International Conference also found higher mortality rates in Black children treated in pediatric ICUs. A new study published in Nature Medicine finds e-cigarettes are just as safe as nicotine patches for pregnant women. May help more women stop smoking. British researchers studied more than 1,100 pregnant smokers. Half were given patches, half were given e-cigarettes, and that second group had better proven quit rates at the end of pregnancy. Trained scent dogs can accurately detect airport passengers infected with COVID-19, and that's according to a new study in BMJ Global Health. Canines' accuracy was tested in lab settings and in the real world. Researchers suggest dogs could be used for pre-screening in high prevalence places like hospitals, and also those with less virus like airports to help save time and resources. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, a deadly overnight shooting in Joplin leaves one dead and another in the hospital.
Round one of thunderstorm activity already squarely upon us for a Tuesday morning, and we've got another round headed our way tonight. All the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And plans are underway for Joplin's 150th anniversary.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 6:28. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to Michael Hazlett.
Tanya, we're starting to pick up a little of that southeasterly dive with this storm system that we've had since, say about 4:30 this morning. And so slowly but surely we're going to see it begin to turn over, head toward I-44. That being said, in the meantime, right along the state line, Pickett County on either side, and it's been dominated by extreme heavy rain. We've already seen more than an inch of accumulation in some places. We have been able to let our severe thunderstorm warnings expire, so we'll call that a positive. But tell you what, even if you're Ottawa, Delaware, Grove, Neosho, Newton County, McDonald County, with this headed your way, take the umbrella. Everybody in this area, you already know, you're entrenched in it. For those of you out to the east and the north, mostly cloudy skies to begin with. This will kind of be our dividing line right here, say along 400 headed towards Chanute, and then everything will begin to drop down slowly but surely. We're seeing that. So we won't see a whole lot of northerly expansion for the rest of our day. Has been a little bit eerie over 7th and Rangeline. Not looking at anything severe. It's just a combination of the clouds, a whole lot of moisture up there, and sunrise providing us with hues that really ranged anywhere from about pink to a deep purple. 63 degrees is where we stand. Temperatures slowly catching up to Miami, that was our clubhouse leader at 64. Now we're seeing 63 in Joplin and in Carthage, 61 in Chanute, even where it does come through with the rain, kind of target Independence, Sedan, and Nowata. We don't see a large drop in our temps after it rolls through. Weather trend for today, as the rain persists and the cloud cover sticks around, it's going to be a while before we get some good bouts of sunshine. But we still will be in the high 70s, if not a low 80 every now and then. Then as we turn our attention to the right-hand side, this is round two that we're talking about. So what will happen is this dies off for the afternoon hours. Then about, say about 10 o'clock, we got a big one formulating over Omaha. It'll be formulating all afternoon, be on us about 10 o'clock. As this rolls through, we get the far southern edge of it, dropping down into the Joplin area, maybe even a light rain below I-44, most severe weather up to the north and to the east. Not only heavy rain, but also, too, got a chance for wind and hail with this. As this thing hangs on into early tomorrow morning, the wind and the hail threat, why we find ourselves in the low category on the severe thunderstorm risk map, lasting until, say, 7 a.m. tomorrow. 7-day forecast, still looking at that cold front moving in from Friday into Saturday. Most important thing, though, is monitoring what we have right now to the south and what's headed our way tonight to the north.
All right. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. At least it's keeping our temperatures a little bit lower for the weekend.
It is. You're right. If we didn't have that, and if those clouds didn't want to pop, yeah, we'd be looking at temps in the high 80s and a whole lot of humidity as well.
For sure. All right. Thanks, Michael. One man is dead and another in the hospital after a shooting in Joplin. Police say the shooting happened Monday night just after 6 p.m. around the intersection of 5th and South Connor. Witnesses say numerous shots were fired. Authorities are not releasing any names or information about a possible suspect. You can watch for updated information on this case on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Joplin police arrest a man for a gunshot over the weekend. On Saturday, police say an intoxicated man tried to get an Uber, but the driver refused to give him a ride. Police say as the driver was pulling away, the man shot at the car. No one was hurt. Officers found an ID on the ground where the shooting happened and tracked the suspect to his home, where they arrested him. On Monday, the Joplin City Council approves a plan to add a property tax question to the August ballot. The property tax would be for a rate of $1 per $100 of assessed valuation. It would pay for wage and funding increases for the Joplin Police and Fire Departments, which were also agreed to last night. Also at the meeting, council members watched a presentation on what the Celebration Commission has been up to, leading up to the city's 150th anniversary. They're working on a promotion themed around the city flower, the iris. Commission is also trying to schedule some concerts, open art history and cultural exhibits, and get special mining camp uniforms for the Joplin High School baseball team. The 150th anniversary will be March 23rd of next year. Missouri charter schools are set to get a funding increase under legislation passed before last week's deadline. Both chambers passed the bill, which calls for at least $62 million more in funding for those schools per year. Currently, charter school funding is pulled from the local school district's funding based on the number of students who transfer there, as well as some other factors. Under this bill, funding for public schools would remain untouched and now heads to the governor's desk to be signed into law. Well, baby formula maker Abbott says it's reached a deal with regulators to restart production at its factory, which is tied to the formula shortage nationwide. Despite that news, it'll still take weeks to get formula to store shelves. And that shortage is causing parents to look for alternatives. As KOAM's Chris Warner explains, some of those alternatives could be dangerous.
Store shelves are bare as the baby formula shortage continues. While there's good news on the horizon, right now parents are looking for alternatives to feed their babies. Social media has been playing a part in suggesting alternatives, which Dr. Beth Garrett, a pediatrician with Freeman Health System, says can be dangerous. One of those things coming up on social media is people selling breast milk. Dr. Garrett says don't buy that, even if it's from someone you know.
That breast milk may contain viruses such as HIV, hepatitis C, hepatitis B, CMV, and could make your baby sick.
Dr. Garrett says she's seen a couple of different recipes floating around online for making your own formula at home, which is something else you need to avoid.
When we make our own formula based off of those old-time recipes, we are really going to cause problems with electrolytes that can lead to seizures, hospitalizations, make baby very sick.
Another thing to avoid? Goat's milk.
Goat's milk is low in a lot of key essential vitamins like folate, B vitamins. It's also very high in sodium, and again that can lead to electrolyte abnormalities leading to hospitalization and seizures. It can lead to some very severe anemias, and so it is not safe to feed your babies goat milk.
Dr. Garrett says cow's milk is acceptable, but you need to limit it to 1, maybe 2 feedings, as it can cause its own set of problems.
The reason we don't want to stay on cow's milk is it's deficient in iron, and also it can cause some microbleeding in the colon over time, which increases the iron deficiency, and babies get pretty anemic if we stay on cow's milk.
Another issue has been WIC vouchers. WIC participants are limited to what the voucher is approved for, which Rebecca Laird with the Newton County Health Department says has changed.
The FDA moved pretty quickly to allow the state WIC programs to start offering alternative sizes and alternative brands.
Dr. Garrett encourages you, where possible, to consider alternative formula brands until the shortage is resolved. I'm Chris Warner for KOAM News.
As Laird mentioned, WIC programs are now able to offer different formulas during the shortage. The state of Missouri has composed a list of those alternatives, which is a great resource even for non-WIC parents. We've got a link in the story at KOAMnewsnow.com. Some Pittsburgh school officials put down the textbooks and picked up the sledgehammers. An event on Monday marked the start of construction on improvements to the Pittsburgh Community Middle School. The work is part of the bond project passed by voters in January. All 4 floors of the middle school will be remodeled, and that includes adding a modern science lab, adding an ADA compliant elevator, and renovating the school's auditorium.
It's amazing, especially
I went to this middle school 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and I think it's really awesome to just see the school getting improved.
Bond was approved to cover $16.5 million in cost. It continues the previous mill levies through 2045. Today, back in 1973, televised Watergate hearings begin. In Washington, D.C., the Senate Select Committee on Presidential Campaign Activities, headed by Senator Sam Ervin of North Carolina, begins the televised hearings on the escalating Watergate scandal. A week later, Harvard law professor Archibald Cox was sworn in as special Watergate prosecutor. On June 17, 1972, 5 men were arrested for breaking into and illegally wiretapping the Democratic National Committee headquarters in the Watergate complex in Washington, D.C. One of the suspects, James W. McCord Jr., was revealed to be the salaried security coordinator for President Richard Nixon's re-election committee.
Oh, where to start? We go with Archibald Cox and the Saturday Night Massacre. And I thought about this quite a bit when we had the Supreme Court nominations, not only for this year, but in just the past 3 years, in the name of Robert Bork, who would replace Elliot Richardson in William Ruckelshaus, and then at the urging of one Elliot Richardson, would not resign from the Justice Department because Richardson was afraid it would be left without leadership since the top 2 people had resigned. And President Biden, of course, remembered for his grilling of Robert Bork during his Supreme Court nomination. Ultimately, Bork did not win Senate confirmation. There you have it. Skywatch Storm Tracker. Check out this lightning, Tanya, now that we've gotten past sunrise. We are picking up because we're heating up. And so we've got lightning abound on that leading edge. Now we're starting to creep in, far eastern edge, starting to creep into portions of Cherokee, Delaware, and Ottawa County. So we got that eastward progression, and we are starting to fall up to the top, down to the southeast. So remember, along and south of I-44, you are going to end up with this thunderstorm activity later this morning.
That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, we'll expose why tequila surged in popularity in the U.S. during the pandemic. Plus, the Buffalo supermarket shooting is a tragedy, a senseless one at that which took 10 people's lives. We want to know, is white nationalism a national threat? We want to know what you think. We'll let you weigh in. Be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, during the pandemic, tequila experienced a big surge in the U.S. market. Wendy Gillette takes the tequila train through the heart of Mexico's agave fields for an up-close look at the spirit's roots and its growing popularity in today's Travel Tuesday segment.
All aboard the Jose Cuervo Express, which rattles past tequila-producing blue agave plants on its way from Guadalajara to the town of Tequila in western Mexico. Train passengers snap pics, take in the view, and of course, sample lots of tequila.
This is an authentic Mexican experience.
The tequila train runs every Saturday. Tickets start at around $120.
The 40-mile journey is proving popular with U.S. tourists because, well, Americans like tequila.
Tequila is on fire.
The president of the Distilled Spirits Council of the U.S., Chris Swanger, just arrived home from a visit to Mexico's agave fields. He says sales of tequila and its spicier cousin mezcal increased 30% last year, reaching $5.2 billion. Super premium tequila sales shot up 1,300% since 2003. Tequila is now the #2 selling spirit in the U.S. behind vodka.
There is no doubt there is a possibility that tequila could overtake vodka as the #1 spirits category in the United States.
Back in the town of Tequila, a mariachi band greets the train. Then it's off to Latin America's oldest distillery, established in 1798 by Jose Cuervo, and more tequila tasting. Visitors can cool off with a rooftop pool dip at Hotel Solar de las Animas high above Tequila. Or learn more about the complex process of making tequila, including how it's harvested, extracted, and aged.
They've got 1.9 billion agave plants in the ground right now to be able to supply the tequila demand in the United States.
That's a lot of tequila te amo. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Tequila, Mexico.
Wendy, bring me back some Patron. You can't find it anywhere here. Tequila connoisseurs say the real enjoyment and appreciation of the spirit comes from sipping it, not tequila shots. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Instapoll and our KOAM News Now Facebook page, the Buffalo shooting. Over the weekend, a gunman shot 14 people at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York. 10 of them were killed. 11 of the victims who were shot were black, and authorities say the shooter in this mass event motivated by racial hatred, as was the case of recent mass shootings in El Paso, Texas, and Charleston, South Carolina. According to online posts, the Buffalo shooter described himself as a white supremacist, a fascist, and an anti-Semite. In the same post, the shooter went on to say the reason for targeting the Buffalo market was its proximity and high number of black people. Our question for you this morning is white nationalism a national threat? Right now, 57% of you say no, it is not. 43% say yes. Each and every morning, you can go straight to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now. We'll be back with birthdays and anniversaries, but first to the Big Apple. Let's check in with Nate.
I'm Nate Burleson. Coming up on CBS Mornings, we'll talk with United Airlines CEO about skyrocketing airfares as you try to plan your summer vacation. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant Charles Becker, the native of Frontenac, Kansas, served in Vietnam from 1969 to 1971. Highly decorated veteran, earned the Army Commendation Medal and the Combat Air Medal with 2 Bronze Stars. To Sergeant Charles Becker, we thank you, today's four-state hero.
Oh, Maisley Hernandez celebrating her first birthday, and we're bringing Maisley back because I want to wish her grandparents a good morning as they have the opportunity to watch their big girl on air celebrating that first birthday in Oswego. So Maisley, a happy birthday, and Grandma and Grandpa, a good morning to you.
All right, happy birthday, Maisley. And a happy birthday going out to Adeline Winter, who is 3 years old this year.
We've got a lot going on.
She's rocking the stuffed animals there and the big purse. Like it. She's ready to go. Adeline is 3 in St. Paul.
You can't miss Adeline in a crowded place, that is for sure. That is an array of colors, kiddo. I love that. Kaylee Rutherford, she is celebrating her 9th birthday. Nice catch, Miss Kaylee. Absolutely love it. She is in Iola.
In Parsons, Leighton Lewis is turning 12 years old. If you're wondering why he's standing in front of all those tires, it's because he is a huge racing fan.
Big Denny Hamlin fan. Yeah. Got the number 11 FedEx rocking. Love it. Love that. We also have a Sweet 16 for Emma Stewart. Emma, I want you to know that this birthday wish comes with love from Mom and Dad, and you have a great 16th birthday, young lady.
All right, and Gregory Winterhalter turning the big 4-0 today. There's Gregory there with his friend. What a sweet one. Sweet one there. Happy birthday, Gregory.
I like that. Lisa Nicholson, happy 46th birthday. I would love to know the background behind that picture right there. I'm going to guess that perhaps those are the ones Miss Nicholson raised that are possibly giving her a hard time. But Lisa, very happy birthday in Nevada, and this comes with love from your cousin Amanda.
That is a fun picture.
That's a great picture right there.
In Parsons, Nato Perez turning.
Turn back the clock on Nito. I love it.
That picture. Oh, somebody was. You're not supposed to frown on your birthday there, buddy.
That's good.
Yeah. Let's see. 49 years old this year for Nato. He's in Parsons.
Doesn't look a day over 1 to me.
Hey, he says, "It's my party and I'll cry if I want to."
Happy birthday, Nito.
There you go.
Rod Watson is celebrating his 56th birthday. Mr. Watson, a very happy birthday in Weir.
Tommy Lawrence turning the big 6-0 this year.
Yeah.
Rocking out there with Tommy in Independence. And his brothers Chuck and Duffy say, have a rockin' birthday.
That's a great picture right there. Happy birthday, Tommy. Oh, Tom Dietz, our good friend, celebrating his 72nd birthday. Tom is one of our 4-state heroes and also uncle to our graphic artist, Will York. Tom, I want you to have a marvelous day in Weir.
All right. In Columbus, Karen Johnston celebrating a birthday today. I hope you have a wonderful one, Karen.
And we got a level anniversary as Drew and Ashton are celebrating their 3rd. Congratulations to the Lovels. And I hope you have a marvelous, marvelous anniversary in Arma.
All right. Joy Delmont celebrating a happy birthday today, along with Seth Rosso, who's 20 years old in Columbus, and in Crestline, Joyce Palmer. Happy birthday to you.
Caden Kendall had a birthday yesterday. We'll bring you back for today's celebration, Caden. A happy 25th birthday with love from the family in Parsons. And Miss Cindy Dean, happy 49th birthday to you. A happy birthday and happy anniversary to all. Here's where you can send them into. Birthdays at KOAMTV.com. You can also go to our website at KOAMNewsNow.com. Here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Coming up when we transition to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, a woman with dementia goes missing, but a wonderful police officer and a wonderful canine officer are on the case. And we've got the body cam footage of the exact moment in which she was found. We'll have that for you when we switch on over to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 and back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. One man is dead and another is in the hospital after a shooting in Joplin. They say the shooting happened Monday night just after 6 p.m. around the intersection of 5th and South Connor. Witnesses say numerous shots were fired. Authorities are not releasing any names or information about a possible suspect. You can watch for updated information on this case on our website at KOAMNewsNow.com. On Monday, the Joplin City Council approved a plan to add a property tax question to the August ballot. The property tax would be for a rate of $1 per $100 of assessed valuation. Pay for wage and funding increases for the Joplin Police and Fire Departments, which were also agreed to last night. And a newly released grand jury report is highly critical of Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt and the state's Pardon and Parole Board. The report says the parole board was so focused on releasing inmates that it cut corners and ignored internal processes, which ultimately led to the release of an inmate later charged with killing 3 people. The panel also criticized Governor Stitt for how he appointed board members. A spokesman for Stitt called the grand jury process a sham. And construction work begins at Pittsburgh Community Middle School. The work is part of the bond project passed by voters in January. School officials hosted an event to celebrate the construction kickoff. Under the project, all 4 floors of the middle school will be remodeled, and that includes adding a modern science lab, adding an ADA-compliant elevator, and renovating the school's auditorium. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Leading edge now pushing into Delaware, Ottawa, and Cherokee counties as this thing moves to the east-southeast. Joplin, Neosho, Pineville, you will be up next here in the next hour or so, and then we've got some heavy rain behind it. Remember, this is indeed round 1. This should be done here by about, say 10:30, 11 a.m., so we've got a while to go. But then everybody up to the north and the east on your toes for tonight. Big system develops over Omaha, pushes down through Kansas City, is upon us for the late night hours, takes us into early Wednesday as well. Heavy rain, high wind, even the possibility of hail as we find ourselves as part of the severe thunderstorm risk map. Finally clear that off, we can get back into the 80s tomorrow afternoon.
All right. I don't know if I want to get back into the 80s, but it'd be nice to clear it off.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making South Pacific pork chops in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
It's your morning news continuing on KOAM. CBS Mornings coming up next are traditional Chinese topping flying off shelves across the U.S. We're going to see how chili crisps are being enjoyed on everything from dumplings to ice cream.
All right, sounds interesting.
All right, that wraps up this Tuesday. Keep the umbrella with you. Be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.